Well, our next guest says that Charlie Kirk's voice ideas will be magnified beyond anything the world has ever seen before. And I'm going to quote what Alex Newman had to write about this. He said, "The assassin meant to silence this gentle soul as he engaged in friendly debate on a college campus. The goal was to stop the movement that Charlie was leading and the truth he was speaking. Instead, that bullet woke a sleeping giant. We will not be silent. Charlie's voice and ideas will now be magnified beyond anything the world has seen in my lifetime. By giving his life for God, family, and country in that order, as he was so fond of saying, Charlie officially earned his place in history." And Alex Newman is the writer who wrote those words, and he joins us now. Alex, great to have you back here on the show from the Liberty Sentinel Report. Great to see you.
Great to be here. Thank you guys so much.
So, thank you, Alex. So, when you say the goal was to stop the movement, I've been feeling that. I think we've all been feeling that. And it feels this is not just one bullet, one person. This is a broader effort to stop what Charlie was saying. Do you see it that way?
There's no question in my mind. One of the things that's so interesting about Charlie is he's almost the opposite of most of the people you see who are famous, who are on TV, who are celebrities. They usually get worse and worse as their platform grows, as they get better. Charlie was like exactly the opposite. He was getting better and better on his theology, on his politics, on his understanding of issues, and he wasn't afraid to speak the truth. So I think they recognized, and I don't exactly know who did this, why they did this. You know, we know they've arrested this 20-year-old person. It looked very much like a professional hit to me. But the reason that the obsession was there with silencing him, whether he was just inspired, the alleged assassin was just inspired by all this, or whether it was a professional hit, as I suspect it may well have been, the reasoning is very clear here. Charlie represented an existential threat to this agenda. And part of that is he was going to the young people, right? I've been sounding the alarm about what's going on in education. In fact, Charlie and I worked closely on issues of education for years. I was the keynote speaker at 2 of his 3 recent education summits. They understood that if they can brainwash the next generation, it doesn't matter what we do politically. It doesn't matter what laws Congress passes or what executive orders President Trump does, because within a generation, maybe 2, it's all over. And yet here comes this young man, 31 years old, precious family, and he's debating with young people. He's bypassing their programming and their indoctrination. And by the millions, they're becoming Christians. They're becoming conservatives. They're becoming interested in protecting our country, our civilization. They're becoming interested in getting married and having children. And so he was a mortal enemy for everything that these evil totalitarians are trying to do. But I think there was a real miscalculation here, because what has happened in the aftermath and what I suspect is going to continue happening is their worst nightmare, and praise the Lord for that.
Well, you know, we all see how movements can be transient, especially because of the internet. So we all get worked up about something and then we move on. And so my faith that this can be lasting has been fairly shaky, just based on the experience of, you know, how it feels like bombing Iran was a year ago. It wasn't. It was a matter of weeks, right? But at the same time, I saw something I'd never seen before, which was a teenage girl in a MAGA hat in Target this weekend. Usually it's men, and it was just unapologetic group of girls in like cute little tight tops. And, you know, the trend, you don't need to know the fashion. But anyway, and I thought maybe there is something to this. So what gives you faith that this will be lasting?
Well, one of the things that's so interesting about this, Natalie, and I agree 100% with your sentiments, is this column that I wrote was actually published in our local Maine newspaper, which is owned by one of the main newspaper organizations in this country. To say they're no friends of Christians and conservatives would be the understatement of the year, okay? The fact that they published this, to me, was shocking. And what was also incredible to me is that the night after it happened, we came together at our church. My pastor, who happens to be a very good friend of mine, also the state director for Turning Point USA Faith, said, we're going to do this for Charlie Kirk. We had Pastor Paul Blair come in, a good friend of mine as well. Charlie Kirk called him one of the most important pastors in America recently. And the whole place was packed. Our mayor was there. Our elected officials were there. And as we got closer, there was liberals, there was Democrats, there was Republicans. We're singing hymns. It's well with my soul. And at the end, as we got closer, one of the pastors who was there sharing some thoughts said, if you're ready to carry on the torch, if you're ready to get involved in a serious way, stand up. And boom, everybody pops up. The very next day, right here in my community where I live, it's a little small beach town in Florida, hundreds of people with no central coordination, no message from Turning Point USA. They got together, and again, it was liberals, it was Democrats, it was Republicans, it was conservatives, it was Trump supporters, it was Biden supporters, and they're all crying, and they're singing Amazing Grace. And you see kids who absolutely loathe Christians and conservatives crying and saying, you know what, I got to go watch some of his videos. Something big is happening here. And you know, don't get me wrong, there's no doubt in my mind that the evildoers are not just going to sit back and watch all of this. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see another bullet fly. I mean, they will try to derail this in every way possible. But what's happening here, I think, is more than political. I think it's spiritual. And frankly, you know, as a Christian, I don't believe anybody can stop what God intends to do. And I see God moving through all of this. And even the fact that people are talking in these terms, regular people who don't talk in these terms, tells me something is different about this than previous movements and things that flash in the pan.
Well, if I may, that Christianity is a big piece of it because it was threatening to a lot of powerful groups, including globalists. Many politicians who proclaim to be Christians are threatened by the power of Christianity. Various warring factions in the world right now, which I don't even have to name because you know who I'm talking about. So can you talk to me? Also, this comment saying Natalie has TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. I'm very comfortable around people in MAGA hats. That doesn't upset me at all. In fact, I'm probably more comfortable around people who own them than not. So that's not true. But let's go. Let's play out this Christianity piece, if you will, and how it was threatening to certain groups. And he was only 31. I feel like I never had a coherent thought until I was 31. What might he have been as this powerful spiritual leader?
Well, that is exactly what they were concerned about, Natalie. And if you look, for example, at some of the reports that are coming out, Charlie Kirk was a really good influence on Donald Trump. You know, we all have our disagreements, or at least we should have our disagreements with what the president is doing. And certainly Charlie did. And one of the things that's so interesting about a man in his position is he was willing to air them openly. He was willing to publicly say on his own show in front of millions of people, hey, Trump should have done this. He shouldn't have done this. And I understand from multiple people who know about these things that Charlie Kirk was, first of all, incredibly influential. Second of all, was urging the president to do certain things different. And so, yes, you're right. There are a lot of factions in the world right now that would have considered Charlie an enemy. In fact, just recently, he said maybe the Ukrainians were going to kill him. I mean, there's all kinds of reports out there. So I think it's still too early to know exactly who might have done this. I know we're supposed to just say, well, it was a radical left-wing college student who was living with a trans guy. And maybe it was. I don't know. But his faith was genuine. His theology was dangerous to the establishment. And he angered a lot of people, not for lying, right? And forget what the fake media is saying. Oh, he was a hater. Show me something hateful, he said, right? They were terrified because he was telling the truth and people were listening. And his platform is now so big. It was so big, it was impossible to take it from him. You could ban him from Fox and CNN. And you could put out a note to all the big media outlets to say, don't ever mention Charlie Kirk again. It was too late. It's like trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's not going back in. So this was an incredible individual. And this is a man whose views were an existential threat to the one world order crowd that is determined to steal our freedom, that is determined to destroy our country, that is determined to squash Christian civilization. And I think what we're going to see now is a revival. We're going to see millions of people who never would have thought twice about these things paying close attention. And I'll tell you what, Natalie, as sorry as this has made me, as sad as this has made, I haven't died about a death since my dad died years ago. Something huge is happening here. Something good is happening here. And I'm encouraged by that.
May I just ask you, Alex, before we let you go about the young people, you know, because what we saw in the wake of Erica's comments this weekend is I think the number now is 37,000 applications for Turning Point's chapters to be open and replicated across the country. 37,000. I'm sure that number has grown since the initial numbers have come in. But I can tell you just anecdotally talking to neighbors and about their children and their son, how they were devastated by this in ways that maybe us as older folks don't even understand. Because young people had this real connection to him in a way that I don't know that most people understand. And that 10 percentage point swing in this past election was incredibly pivotal for Donald Trump to win the presidency. So now you have like a, 8, 9, 10% swing that President Trump got from the previous election among young people in ways that we've never seen before. I think I'm personally thinking, you correct me if I'm wrong, the floodgates have been opened now for young people. That call to action for them to get involved politically and to have their voices heard about taking their country back in a way that we have never anticipated before.
There's no question about it. No question about it, Clayton. I've been at many of Charlie Kirk's events. I've spoken at them, and I've never in my life, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, right? I've given away my age here. I've never seen so many young people so enthusiastic about God and country and liberty and family. You're right. The numbers that are coming in are extraordinary. I just spoke a little while ago to my friend who, as I mentioned, is the state director for Turning Point USA Faith. He can't even keep up with how many people want to get involved. Churches across this country get involved, small towns, schools, young people everywhere. So this really is what the enemy meant for evil, God is using for good. And, we got to encourage the young people, folks. I've been saying this for years and years. If we don't rescue the next generation, all the other fights that we're involved in are for nothing. So just give up now if you don't want to focus on rescuing the young people. Charlie was one of the guys who had figured out how to do it, not with everybody, but with a lot of them, and it had the establishment absolutely terrified. So as I've said, and as I concluded my column, we're all Charlie Kirk now. We all have a responsibility to go out, protect the minds and the hearts and the souls of these young people from the wicked indoctrination, from the nasty filth that passes for entertainment and education. And it's absolutely essential to do it. Charlie Kirk showed us how to do it, and now we need to continue.
Alex, we love having you on the show. Thank you so much for that. I think those are the words we needed to hear today, because so many people are feeling despondent about it. Where do we turn? Where do we turn? When you realize there's a nation, there's a world right now of people that are coming together and using this as an opportunity to seize that. It's really incredible, and I'm so heartened by it. So thank you, Alex. Thanks for your great column, and thanks for your great work as always.
Thank you guys so much for having me. God bless you both.